Way back when I was part of a collective called Teksteditions, I had a book that I wanted to do. And I never got to do it. But I got to do it here with Teksteditions. And it's called Mr. Body. And it's by Opal Louis Nations. And it's even got pictures of wonderful little mannequins in it. If you don't know Opal's work, at present he lives in Oakland, California. He's had over 30 books published by such publishers as the Eternal Network, Intermedia Press, Vehicule Press, the Coach House Press, and many more. He's had hundreds of publications internationally, and he ran his own press called Strange Feces, which had a magazine that he published a lot of young writers in as well. So this is the book, wonderful little book. And this is the book, which I'm going to read the first little section of. And the sky moved, covered in floating timbers and loggers steering islands with striped candy bars. From the trees dropped Sanyo autumn radios to fodder the earth in a crust of electric ectoplasm. Key was in the park before breakfast, a park break for a park fast, strolling by the open-air stomach lake, a swamp of enzymes cooled by belches of wind and gastroenteritis, whose underworkings resembled bowels suffering from enuresis. His little toffee melted on the top of his head, oozing enlightenment over his suet prodding. In the sun, there were funny kindnesses, some bestowed and moored around the edges of the lake, boats, if you like, of metal sombreros, in times of war worn by cutter ducks that went quake, quake, instead of, don't make that unsliced bread too lumpy. Their tiny sails, strung out from one main mast, grew like a naked vertebra from their quilty bodies. A duck armada bearing cannon and shot was surrounded by a force field that deflected the bomb clusters of pigeon shit. Kiss me, Key jostled to himself. Kiss me! Key had made the effort most of his life, trying to kiss himself. What life? He didn't have a life. Key lived on borrowed time, a deposit down, give as you earn. Key lived by the gracious consent of Mr. Body, the night watchman who keeps the sun alight by throwing toads on it, a special toad, one called the bellows of the animal kingdom. He didn't earn, he slaved, and he grafted to put himself in that workable condition. He practiced for 30 years to get himself off his craterous ass of turd warp and scale decay at 8 o'clock in the morning, blown down to blue and smirch every late afternoon, just to be there at 5 in order to clock off work, but he never blew in time. Something in his body triangulated his whoop-whoop. Now, this is all in the vast. The daily dirtied Andrex of Scarpa flow, because on St. Almond's Day, he did it. Key herbaceous Custer of her registry's light rump pack brigade jilted, stood by the breakers of Harmony Hill housing estate, and blew the rubious lips poutable the sight of Saints and Diners alarm factory. Key's lips splewed out like a lush lady orchid, straight out in front. Yes, sir, 4 feet, and a mucky hair from a leopard's nose, or the quake of a fairy's tit in length. Then, by the forces of amen and railway waiting room break wind with gusto, caused by wet, sharp edges on the gaping tongues of Squeaker Street kids, Key's lips winded and hee-hawed to the right, homing in on an arc and straight return that sucked the penis from his trews, without so much as a whisper of crusted fingerfly release and sudden, strong prong palpitation. Squeaker Street Lobo, hot kid from way back Rockalimbo, marveled and uttered, "Grapes!" then gasped, swallowing his grisly risley, filled with wank shit and pavement dog dust. "Grapes are new, too," said Squeaker Street's little Mabel, 7-year-old swing hips and hooer pavister, her ropey buttered plates arched like a rattlesnake. Bostic of Squeaker Street tripled the exclaim, his goose pimples causing an eruption on the bark of his warts. Kiss me, Trillo keyed to himself again, throwing out his lips for double trick gain. But they seemed bent on keeping his teeth warm and comfort. It was no good. He was that one-time trooper. His teeth were rattled, and his lips were moody, empty, and grumbled. Key, downshod, and in absence of gawkers, left the open-air stomach lake without an in-head farewell and loafered pixie-like, choosing his steps from his best-known and loved Frog and Stare movies. Thank you. We're going to take